Welcome to our channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more mysterious and intriguing content. Prepare to be captivated and chilled as we delve into 5 true and extraordinary stories that defy explanation. From the terrifying haunting of the Bell Witch to other stranger-than-fiction tales, these real-life events will leave you questioning reality. Make sure to watch until the end. You won't believe the last story. Story. The death of Elisa Lam was last seen on January 31, 2013 in the lobby of the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She was vacationing through the West Coast, documenting the trip on her blog and checking in with her parents every day. On January 31st, those calls stopped. Lam had vanished. Soon the police were involved and her parents arrived to help with the search. They had nothing. That February, LAPD released elevator surveillance footage of Lam before her disappearance. The footage shows Lam behaving strangely in the elevator, appearing to talk with invisible people, peering around the corner of the door, crouching in the corner, and opening and closing the door. But what exactly is going on in this video raises more questions than answers. Theories range from psychotic episodes to demonic possession to unknown assailants just out of the camera's view. Around that time, hotel guests started reported weird things happening with the Cecil Hotel water supply. As CNN reports, "The shower was awful," said Sabina Baugh, who spent 8 days there during the investigation. "When you turned the tap on, the water was coming black first for 2 seconds, and then it was going back to normal. The tap water tasted horrible," Baugh said. "It had a very funny, sweety, disgusting taste. It's a very strange taste. I can barely describe it." But for a week, they never complained. "We never thought anything of it," she said. "We thought it was just the way it was here." On the morning of February 19th, a hotel employee climbed to the roof and used a ladder to investigate the hotel's water storage tanks. That's where authorities found the decomposing, naked body of Lam, whose personal items were found nearby. After an autopsy, her death was labeled accidental. NBC Los Angeles reported at the time about the strange circumstances in the hotel's past. The hauntings at the Lizzie Borden house on August 4, 1892, Andrew and his wife, Abby Borden, were found brutally murdered in their Fall River, Massachusetts home. Though murder wasn't uncommon in the late 1800s, the fact that they were bludgeoned to death with an axe and the main suspect was their 32-year-old daughter, Lizzie Borden, certainly was. The crime and trial that followed made headlines around the world. Lizzie was ultimately acquitted of murder, but she remains forever linked to the heinous killings, as does the home where the crime was committed. Now a bed and breakfast and museum, the Borden home attracts history buffs and thrill seekers who come to see for themselves if rumors that the house is haunted are indeed true. When I started working here, it was more of the history. I really didn't care about the paranormal, Suzanne St. John, a realtor and tour guide at the Lizzie Borden house, tells. However, that all changed after St. John says she experienced a few unusual happenings of her own. Guests tell us they hear laughing and playing in the middle of the night. Things get moved around, she says. And St. John has experienced a few unusual things herself, saying that once she discovered toys scattered across a room that no one had been in. St. John also talks of a picture that fell over and slid 2 feet across the floor without any plausible explanation, as well as a closet door that once opened on its own volition. On the eve of the anniversary of Andrew and Abby's murder, St. John says that she and 2 other tour guides at the house felt a sudden sharp, piercing pain in their left eyes, the same exact location of Andrew Borden's fatal injuries. Perhaps the most unsettling, however, is the story St. John tells of a tour guide at the Lizzie Borden house who asked her group to silence their cell phones before beginning the tour. Moments later, a guest's cell phone rang. She looked up and said, "It's my mom." The tour guide asked if she wanted to leave and take the call, to which the woman replied, "She died 2 years ago." In a quiet, quaint village nestled deep in the woods, an old, dilapidated house sat abandoned for years. Locals whispered about the cursed history of the place, claiming it was haunted by the spirit of a child. The house's windows were shattered, and the garden overgrown with thorns, but inside one room remained untouched, a child's nursery. One evening, a curious teenager named Lily decided to explore the house with her friends. Armed with flashlights, they crept through the creaking front door. The air inside was heavy with dust and secrets. They ventured upstairs and discovered the nursery, frozen in time. Amidst the tattered teddy bears and faded picture books, Lily found a porcelain doll with a cracked face. Its eyes, once bright blue, now seemed to follow her every move. Ignoring the unease gnawing at her, she picked up the doll and dusted it off. As she did, a faint melancholic lullaby filled the room. Startled, Lily dropped the doll, but the lullaby continued to play, growing louder and more haunting. The room darkened, and the air grew icy. Her friends screamed, trying to escape, but the door slammed shut, trapping them inside. The doll began to move, its cracked lips forming a sinister smile. It floated toward Lily, its porcelain hands reaching for her throat. Panic surged through her as she struggled against the doll's malevolent grip. It whispered chilling words into her ear, promising to keep her there forever. Lily's friends watched in horror as she withered before their eyes, becoming a lifeless porcelain doll like the one that had cursed her. The lullaby faded, and the room returned to its eerie stillness. To this day, the village whispers of the haunted house and the porcelain doll that lures unsuspecting souls into its clutches. Beware the forgotten doll and the nursery that time. Forgot, for those who enter may never leave, condemned to a porcelain prison for eternity. The man who amassed a collection of mummified girls, Anatoly Moskvin, seemed like a smart guy. According to the Daily Beast, the college professor and Russian journalist mastered 13 languages. But he also had a peculiar hobby. He was a self-dubbed necropolist, or an expert on cemeteries. Moskvin was so fascinated by cemeteries, in fact, that he visited 752 of them in and around his hometown. He wrote lengthy reports with titles like Great Walks Around Cemeteries and What the Dead Said that were published in a weekly newspaper called Necrologies. Apparently, this curiosity was tied directly to an incident from his childhood, which he divulged in his last contribution to the paper on October 26, 2011. When Moskvin was 13, a group of men stopped him and forced him to join a funeral and to kiss the dead 11-year-old girl on the lips. I kissed her once, then again, he wrote. The girl's mother then placed a wedding ring on his and her daughter's fingers. Moskvin wrote that his strange marriage was useful and spurred an irrevocable, lifelong fascination with the dead. Moskvin began writing about the dead and taking detailed notes of each cemetery he visited. He even spent a night in the coffin of a dead person ahead of their funeral. It was when locals found the graves of their loved ones desecrated and dug up in 2009 that Moskvin's hobbies became untenable. The Russian government had no leads, but they were sure extremists were to blame. Until 2011, nobody had any inkling who the culprit in this bizarre horror story was. But when police heard that Muslim graves were being desecrated in Nizhny Novgorod, following a terrorist attack at Moscow's Domodedovo airport, they finally caught a break. They found Moskvin painting over the pictures of dead Muslims. While he wasn't desecrating the bodies themselves, authorities arrested him and searched his apartment. That's when they realized they'd stumbled upon a real-life horror story. Countless life-size dolls littered the apartment, which Moskvin shared with his parents. The dolls' hands were covered in fabric, and makeup covered their faces. It quickly became apparent that these were not inanimate objects. These were the mummified corpses of human girls. When police tried to move them, music began to blare. Moskvin had embedded music boxes into the chest cavities of these dolls. A dried human heart and a piece of a gravestone were found in the home as well. The corpses were stuffed with rags, their eye sockets filled with buttons or toy eyes. Moskvin said he would watch cartoons with them and that he dug them up because he was lonely. He said his biggest dream was to have children and that he'd been waiting for science to figure out how to revive the dead. His parents had no idea. They assumed their son had a hobby of building large playthings. In court, their son confessed to 44 counts of abusing graves and dead bodies. I still find it hard to grasp the scale of his sickening work, but for 9 years he was living "With my mummified daughter in his bedroom," said Natalia Chardomova, the mother of Moskvin's first victim. "I had her for 10 years. He had year for 9. Despite psychiatrists claiming that Moskvin's condition is steadily improving, prosecutors agree with Chardomova and have continued to keep him safely removed from society. The Haunting of the Bell Witch, 1817-1821. One of the most chilling and documented paranormal events in American history is the story of the Bell Witch. It occurred in the early 19th century in Robertson County, Tennessee, and terrified the Bell family for years. In 1817, John Bell, a farmer, and his family began experiencing strange occurrences on their farm. It started with inexplicable noises at night, knocking on walls, scratching sounds from the floors, faint whispers that grew louder over time. The family initially thought it was animals or the wind, but things escalated quickly. Objects were moved or thrown, furniture shook violently, and their youngest daughter, Betsy Bell, became the primary target of physical attacks. She was slapped, pinched, and even had her hair pulled by an unseen force. The entity speaks. Over time, the mysterious force began to speak in a clear voice. It identified itself as Kate, claiming to be the spirit of a neighbor who had cursed the Bell family before her death. Kate's hatred for John Bell was intense, and she vowed to torment him until his demise. The entity also seemed to possess supernatural knowledge. It could repeat conversations held miles away and predict future events, making skeptics believe it was more than a mere hoax. Famous visitors. Word spread about the Bell Witch, and curious visitors came to witness the activity. Even General Andrew Jackson, who later became the 7th President of the United States, visited the Bell home. Jackson reportedly had a terrifying encounter where his entourage experienced horses refusing to move and members being physically assaulted by an invisible force. He left, declaring, "I'd rather fight the British than face the Bell Witch again." John Bell's death. In 1820, John Bell's health deteriorated rapidly. He experienced seizures, became bedridden, and eventually passed away in December of that year. After his death, a mysterious vial of black liquid was found near his bed. The entity claimed responsibility, saying, "I gave him the poison." The liquid was tested on a cat, which died instantly. Aftermath. The activity decreased after John Bell's death, but didn't disappear entirely. The Bell Witch promised to return in 7 years, and reports suggest minor disturbances occurred in 1828. However, the family never experienced the same level of terror again. Legacy. The Bell Witch story remains a powerful legend, inspiring books, movies, and countless theories. Many believe the events were real, while skeptics suggest it might have been mass hysteria or an elaborate family hoax. Today, the Bell Witch Cave, located near the original Bell Farm, is a popular tourist attraction, and visitors often report strange experiences, including eerie voices and sightings of shadowy figures. The Bell Witch legend continues to be one of the most terrifying and mysterious tales of the supernatural. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more mysterious and intriguing content. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our uploads. Which story shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments.